All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, um, wherever it is where you're tuning in from. We're just going to get started in a few moments, just allowing people to join here.
It's still morning for me since I'm in Denver.
That's right. Yes. So we are working with multiple time zones today. Our speaker is in Denver. We're here on the East Coast in Philly. And I'm sure you all are coming from all over the place. So I'm just going to give it maybe another moment or so. All right, well, it looks like the attendance is leveling off, so I think we can get started. So welcome to our webinar titled, as you'll see on the screen, From Chaos to Clarity, Centralize Your Collection with a Digital Platform. My name is Greg Stewart. I am the Education Program Manager at the Conservation Center for Art and Historic Artifacts, or CCAHA, and I use they and he pronouns. For accessibility, I'll say I am a white person with dark hair, and I have some doors and a bookshelf and a yellow wall behind me, and I'm wearing glasses and a white shirt. And so a little bit more about our program today. Whether you're caring for a single collection or managing hundreds of works across an institution, a digital system helps you stay organized and ready for what's ahead. In this webinar, you'll learn how to bring order to your collection using a digital platform. So today we have Elysian Koglmeier, from Artwork Archive, an online art inventory management system, who will walk you through how a cloud-based collection management system can help you centralize artwork details, images, and documents in one secure location. Prepare for moments that matter, like estate planning, exhibition planning, loans, gifts, and insurance claims. Stay ready for emergencies with quick access to records, and build a foundation for future stewardship, transparency, and value retention. This presentation will show you how easy it is to start organizing your collection and reduce the stress of all those scattered spreadsheets, folders, and paper files. And whether you're just getting started or you're already documenting your collection, we're hoping you're going to leave with some practical tips to streamline your workflow and protect your cultural assets. So just a quick caveat, we're excited to have Elysian here to show us the features of Artwork Archive. I will just mention that we're a nonprofit and we can't endorse any one platform. So we hope that today this provides you with a good case study and gives you the knowledge to ask the right questions to choose your own digital platform. So just before we get started, just some Zoom housekeeping. You're in Zoom webinar, so your video and your audio are turned off, but you can ask comments or ask questions or make comments to us in the chat. The program today is auto closed captioned in English, and you can turn on subtitles with the little CC button in the Zoom toolbar. We also have ASL interpretation today, and as a reminder, you can always request accommodations for any of our programs by visiting our accessibility page on our website. So today we're going to have a presentation from our speaker, followed by Q&A with you. But please feel free to ask questions anytime during the program, and I will read those questions verbally when we get to Q&A. This program is being recorded, and we'll send the recording as well as the PowerPoint with resources in a follow-up email. So I will say this program series was previously funded by the National Endowment for the Humanities, which allowed us to provide high-quality education programs in fulfillment of our mission. So without that funding, we just kindly ask that you consider a donation to CCAHA or the purchase of an institutional membership, if that applies to you, to help keep these webinars free of cost to all. And every little bit helps. So Elysian, oh yes, thank you. You're on that next slide. Appreciate that. Just a quick note about the organization I work for, CCHA. We are a regional conservation lab and preservation services facility. We're based in Philadelphia, but we work with organizations and clients all across the country. Our conservators treat paper-based objects like books, photographs, documents, artwork on paper, and more. And our preservation services staff work in the field providing education programs and helping institutions plan for the future of their collections. The center also offers a wide range of digitization services, as well as fundraising assistance, housing, framing, and more. And you can learn more about what we do at our website, ccha.org. So just a quick note about our speaker today. Elysian Koglmeier is head of partnerships for Artwork Archive, an online art inventory management system for artists, collectors, and organizations. Growing up with a father as an art therapist and a mother who dedicated her career to art education, Elysian has always been passionate about the creative process and the importance of empowering artists and cultural institutions. She pursued this passion both in the public and private sector. She started her career in museums, including the Middlebury Museum of Art and the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, ran New England Foundation for the Arts Public Art Program, and served as curator for Brown University and RISD, and contributed to publications such as Art New England, Art Business News, and Public Art Review. A move out west brought her to Craftsy, now Blueprint in Denver, where she produced online art classes and managed partnerships for a startup that created online educational opportunities for enthusiastic makers. So I think with that, I'll turn it over to Elysian to get us started.
Great. Thank you, Greg. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's session. Again, my name is Elysian Koglmeier, and I am with Artwork Archive. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a fair-skinned woman with red hair sitting in a dark office with a dark background because the sun is not yet coming through my window, and I am wearing a navy blue shirt. I also want to thank CCAHA, Greg, and the team for hosting, and also acknowledge the FAIC's Held in Trust report, which highlights the importance of digital technology for expanding collections-based knowledge creation, and that's exactly what we're here to talk to you about today. So here's what you can expect. First, we're going to discuss why going digital matters. Then I'm going to share some best practices for digitizing and organizing your collection, cutting that chaos, as we said in the title. And like Greg mentioned, I will be using live examples from Artwork Archive because that's who I work with. But these best practices can carry across all databases. And I actually have some resources at the end of the presentation, some articles that will be linked to the slides, which you will receive afterwards. And one of those articles is tips for finding the best database CMS for your needs. I'm also, as Greg mentioned, going to touch upon preparing for emergencies and future-proofing your collection. And we'll finally open up for questions at the end. I can't wait to hear from you all. On the slide, just saying a little bit about Artwork Archive. Greg gave an introduction of what we do. We work with artists, collectors, and organizations of all types, all sizes from all over the world. We are an online database, an online art inventory management system, but we also produce a lot of free educational content, and that is a big piece of what I do as head of partnerships. I lead these webinars. I host webinars for Artwork Archive. If you want to come to our website, you'll see that there's some recordings about emergency planning, insurance, collection best practices, conservation and exhibitions, a lot of great content. And we also want to know who is in the room here within the webinar. And so Camille is going to launch a poll asking you just to answer one question about what is the makeup of your collection. Are you a private collector? Do you work with a museum? a public art collection, if you can just take a moment to pick the answer that best reflects the collection, the organization that you are a part of, that will be helpful as I walk through examples and just know who's in the room, who I'm speaking to. Thanks. And I am going to reiterate as I walk through examples after my slides within Artwork Archive that you don't need Artwork Archive as your collection management system, that if you are using another database, that is great. These are just tips for you to start noodling and thinking about how to digitize, organize your collection. And I think that's probably enough time because we have another question within the poll. So let's see. All right, nice spread of folks from academic institutions, mid-sized to large museums, small museums, historical societies, nonprofit art centers. Oh, these are all my people. I've worked in all of these types of organizations, as Greg mentioned when reading my bio. So lovely to have you all here. Now, if you don't mind just answering the next question, which is, do you have a database in place already? Good to know what we're working with. Database and online art collection management system. This does not mean Excel spreadsheets. I should have prefaced that. So yes or no? Okay, let's see how many of you have a database in place. All right, that's a good 50-50. So for those that do have a database in place, we'll run through some best practices that maybe you haven't thought of when using your database. And for those that don't have one, hopefully this will inspire you to start the process to get it all organized. Moving on to my next slide. So for those working with a database or not, many of you may be familiar with the chaos of scattered spreadsheets, old paper files, folders tucked away on multiple drives or in cabinets in the back of the office. And so that disorganization can make it really hard for you to find what you need and when you need it. And the risks of that is that records get lost, collections are more vulnerable in an emergency, and staff spend extra time on inefficient processes. So by contrast, centralizing in a digital platform means having more secure, searchable, and shareable access to your data. So it makes collaboration easier, whether you're working with your colleagues, appraisers, lenders, whomever it may be. And take a moment to think about when those access points matters. It may be an insurance claim after an incident, planning an exhibition, transporting artworks for a loan, long-term estate planning. I will be sprinkling in private collector examples because you work with them, but also this will be recorded and accessible to private collectors as well. So having everything at your fingertips makes those processes less stressful and far more efficient. And so that leads to the meat of this slide that you're looking at, that digitization, getting your collection organized and centralized, isn't just about scanning images. It's about organizing your collection data, making sure that it's not siloed in various places, that you have a single access point to quickly be able to find, access, and share out. No more looking over the registrar's shoulder at their desktop collection management system that they have. There's a lot of text on this slide. So again, the slides will be made accessible after the presentation. The key points here are why online access matters. So if you are looking to make the case to leadership on why spend time and resources on digitizing, centralizing your data, digital access isn't just about visibility, which we'll get into, making information public. It's like a cherry on top, but it also supports your mission in really important ways. One of which being engagement in scholarship, The next is, as I touched upon earlier, internal success, emergency preparedness, funding support. And so this is one that people don't usually think about, that you get to show your impact to donors and grant makers. And a well-documented collection demonstrates, good stewardship, which is what they're looking for. And future-proofing your collection, the legacy preservation piece for generations to come. But one of the most valuable benefits of digitization is being ready for the unexpected. So emergency preparedness being in the center of this text. In an emergency, whether it's natural disaster, theft, damage, having remote access to your records is critical. So insurance claims become faster and more accurate when you have thorough documentation, that being images, values, condition reports, all in one place. And beyond emergencies, digitization builds resilience and ensures continuity for future stewards of your collection, reducing knowledge loss when staff or leadership transitions occur. That happens. When I left one role, a bunch of my files were in folders strewn across my hard drive. And it probably was a lot of work for tech to our IT team to pull it all together for the new hire. And the other piece that's really important to us at Artwork Archive is this future proofing for tomorrow. Thinking that digitizing your collection isn't just for today, streamlining internal processes, helping engagement in scholarship now, connecting with researchers, but it's also about building a foundation for long-term stewardship. And so supporting the broader goals, again, that featured in the Held in Trust report about expanding creation and transparency, ensuring your collection's value, accessibility, and impact for generations to come. So that's some positives. And then, the risk of inaction. And so if you get pushback, here's some not so great things that could happen if you don't digitize your collection. Imagine a museum. Many of you said you're from museums and you're preparing to loan a piece for an exhibition. The registrar, whether that's you or someone else, can't find the most recent condition report because it lives in a paper file. So while the loan agreement is sitting on someone's personal hard drive, weeks are wasted tracking down documents. The borrowing institution loses confidence. And in some cases, the loan falls through altogether, meaning a missed visibility for the artwork and a missed relationship building opportunity. Or if your museum or if you're a collector and your home suffers water damage, you need to be able to file an insurance claim quickly. And so that means your receipts, appraisals, provenance documents need to be accessible. And for many, those may be scattered across email chains, filing cabinets, multiple spreadsheets. So without those centralized records, the claim can be delayed, coverage is questioned. In the meantime, the collection is at further risk. And that actually happened to our co-founder, which is how we expanded into, we first built Artwork Archive for artists to inventory their artworks and their art business. And then we expanded into collections because one of our co-founders had a big flood and had a long, laborious insurance claim because he did not have his paperwork in order. And so he learned and he started using Artwork Archive. So digitizing in practice, again, a lot of words on this slide will be made accessible. We are going to use Artwork Archive as an example for these principles. But if you haven't already digitized your collection, a few steps to consider. And then, and I put onto this slide, if your knowledge lives in a spreadsheet, only you can read, it's not a system, it's a liability. So again, reducing these silos, making information accessible. So you want to centralize the data. You want to standardize it. So creating consistent data fields and controlled vocabulary so your records stay clean and searchable over time. Some of you that already have a database, you may be feeling this after a few years or decades of information. And so sometimes some housekeeping, some data cleanup is necessary. Prioritizing, I will have some examples from clients. It may be overwhelming to think of all of the information that you have, all of the objects. But if you have limited time, begin with your most significant or at risk or frequently used works. Fourth, attach a link. So connect to everything. Again, I'll be showing examples of you want to attach condition reports, provenance, loan forms, even audio or video files to create a complete digital record. Fifth, access and share. So with cloud storage, you can collaborate with stakeholders, which is a big perk. Again, reducing those silos, being able to easily share out information. And then it's not just to set it or forget it. So you want to maintain your database, making it a habit. So for those that already have a database, ensuring that you're recording conservation, tracking location changes, logging new acquisitions. So your database stays current. And then if you don't want to take it from me, you can take it from one of our experts that this quote was pulled from an article that we have on our artwork archive blog. Kimberly Mayer with the Association of Professional Art Advisors speaks to, the question of when should you start documenting your art collection. No matter, and Greg mentioned this in the beginning, no matter how small or early in your collecting journey you are, documentation really matters. Bills of sale, provenance, appraisals. Once a collection reaches about a dozen pieces of value, it becomes especially important to move past ad hoc record keeping and commit to a database. That way, if disaster strikes, you already have the images, documents, and history in place. And so I joke, it's like flossing. Start documentation early. It's good practice, and just stay on top of it. And so that you have less buildup at the end. So with that, a lot of preamble, a lot of like why digitization is important, because it is. I'm going to get into some examples. So let me click into this slide and get out. Oh, actually, I'm going to stop my share because it looks like I got logged out of my demo account. And I'm just going to take a moment to log into it for you all. In the meantime, Greg, are there any questions that have come up that I can address?
Not at the moment. We just have some kind of questions about our membership and some of the slides that are coming, but I think we're good for now.
Okay, great. We'll make sure we get to those questions. All right, here we are. Okay, now you can see my screen. So again, I am using Artwork Archive as an example. You may have a different database. And so hopefully these best practices and tips will carry across. So first, if for the 47-ish% that don't have a database, we recommend looking for one that's accessible online, not just a download only on your computer, because mobile accessibility is crucial these days. Staff can have access to records anywhere, which is handy during installs, on-site visits, traveling during conferences. Hopefully, there's some conferences ahead for you all, or emergencies if you're home and something happened at night. So with Artwork Archive as an example, a friendly reminder that when you have all of that information centralized and digitized, again, you can quickly find information you need. So if you have an inquiry about a particular piece, or if you have your collection spread across multiple locations, typical for public art programs, museum loans, you can quickly find the artworks, the information. But if I go back into pieces, another thing that is very helpful when it comes to organizing is to think about how the public consumes your collection, how you want it to be consumed, how as a on the back end for admin, what information is helpful to categorize, and then to put those into collections, which is a term that we have here. It may be something else in your database. And so you can track your collections. It could be for all of your textiles or artworks made by local artists or theme, abstract pieces. So that way, when they're organized in this way, you can quickly share out. If someone is contacting you about textiles, you can quickly pull everything that is categorized as that. Or if you were to make this public on your website, you help folks navigate and find information, things that they are interested in. And so thinking through like what collections, what categories are important to you in your institution. For estate planning purposes, for collectors, we see, a bequeath to. So a bequeath to Jimmy, my son, bequeath to Sarah, my niece, a future donation to my alma mater. And those are categorized so that when the estate plan is being executed, that the wishes are outlined quite clearly. I'm going to click into a piece because there's so many little goodies that you can keep track of when it comes to centralizing and organizing your collection, because you have all of your pieces, which is overwhelming. And then you also have all of the information just for one object. And so walking through some important pieces of information to keep track of. And for those that are already digitizing, apologies if this is already something that you know, but for those that haven't done it, helpful to be reminded to have multiple images for your artwork. It could be a detail shot. One example of it, the importance of an image that I did not think of until Adrian Reed at Huntington T Block shared this at in a webinar that I hosted about ensuring your art collection, was that imagine that after a fire, your objects are probably not going to be very recognizable. You're going to have like details or glimpse of a frame, but the piece itself may be destroyed. By having a photo of the frame and the detail, you can identify your pieces by those images and submit those to insurance. There's a lot of contemporary provenance that is happening now with the advancement of technology. Videos being one. A lot of artists are making videos, time lapses of them creating the piece, tours of their studio, videos of the curator talking about the historical relevance of the work. Similarly, audio, oral histories are being collected, and so maybe an oral history from the artist or from someone from the community that grew up with this mural in their backyard. And all of those can be saved and attached to your object record. And even better, you can make these public. So to the legacy and the education and scholarship pieces of why digitizing, you can make these accessible to community members, scholars, students that are researching the artworks to bolster their research. Calling out, it's good to keep track of those values for the emergency preparedness piece. If anything were to happen to an artwork, disaster, fire, loss, being theft. And then over to the right-hand side, if you are getting your artworks appraised, remembering to attach those appraisals to the object record. Again, so you don't have to go searching through email chains or physical files. I'm going to scroll down. One other helpful thing, moving beyond spreadsheets, is that when you upload high-res images to your database, then you have them accessible. to download or share directly. Maybe this is with a colleague who needs an image for the publication. You can send the images directly from your database, whether it's Artwork Archive or another. And then speaking of organizing, how did this object come into your collection? You can track that, whether it was here, the piece has been donated, but it could also have been purchased. If I go into edit, you will see that you can also keep track of loans. So if the work was loaned into your collection, you can keep track of that as well. The dates, um, was it returned? You don't want an indefinite loan hanging out in your museum, or in your historical society, the values, etc. And then you can also loan out you can track, if you loan out your pieces, then you can keep track of that as well. So you can create new location records, which also builds out the provenance. So you'll know if the work is in storage. If it is in storage, what drawer is it in? Is it being conserved right now and it's at a conservation studio? You'll always know the location of your piece and know where it is. So you can stop the scavenger hunts and rest assured you always know where your artworks are. A lot of other content. This is our demo account, so it's very, very populated. But I'm just going to click on some of, or point out some of the most useful tools for this presentation. Additional files. So this is a big piece of the centralizing and the collecting, wrapping your arms around a collection. So whether you are a private collector and you have the invoices, the bills of sale from the artwork, or you are a museum and you have the donor letter and the certificate of authenticity, you can attach all those documents to your object record so that you always have access to download again or share. And then one thing that I love is that this is a great place to put educational resources. So it may be an excerpt from a book that spoke about the importance of this piece, or a piece from it may be the catalog raisonné. You can also make these public, so not only for your backend organization, but again, with the scholarship piece, you can make certain documents public as PDFs for scholars to access. And then, we are with a conservation center as our hosting organization, so have to call out also tracking the maintenance, the conservation of your artworks. Artworks, objects age just like us. And so making sure that you're staying on top of the conservation and the restoration. You can see it at the object level. You can create the conservation record quite easily. If it is a bronze outside and it needs to be cleaned every year, you can schedule a reminder so you don't forget it. And then that conservation, the maintenance, restoration can all be saved at the collection level. And this is helpful if you have to make the case for increasing spend on conservation. Or if I go back to that piece, if you need to make the case for deaccessioning the piece, it's not aging well, you have the records to back it up. The other thing I didn't call out that I've been seeing happen a lot with digitization projects is the use of our tags. We have tags like a keyword, a hashtag, and this is where you can put any information that you want to assign to the artwork or that you want to be able to search and group by. And I've been seeing these tags being used as DEAI tags. I've seen academic institutions have students go in and tag the artworks with their contemporary vocabulary, how they identify with this piece. So making it more accessible to different generations. And then those students can then, curate an exhibition, a virtual show by those tags if they wish. Another piece of getting organized with your collection, it's not just the artworks, but it's the people associated with your collection. So that is the artists, the makers, your donors. With Artwork Archive, you can also keep track of your donors if you don't have like an e-tapestry or a different platform. Um, you can also keep track of your conservators, your installers, your appraisers, the art professionals that are working with your collection. Same goes for the private collectors. If you have a loan or you are working with, if you are traveling an exhibition, having the contacts for that as well is really helpful. You can set reminders, see what you have shared with them. And then for the artist, you see what of theirs is in your collection. If this was a donor and they donated pieces, you would see what they had donated to you. If this was a lending, if this was a curator from a lending institution, you would see what works were part of the loan. And speaking of loans, part of the marketing of this webinar, we talked about how this also having your collection digitized helps with exhibition planning. And so you can build out an archive of your exhibitions. Helpful if someone comes to you and asks about a show, from 5 years ago, about an artist, you can answer the inquiry. But also, as I mentioned, we had a webinar a few months ago about the importance of bringing in a conservator when planning an exhibition. When they give you those condition reports, you can attach them to the exhibition record. You can also attach them to the particular object record, again, to protect and preserve the artworks, whether they are being installed on your own grounds or if they are traveling and loaned elsewhere. One of the benefits of having a centralized database, and I mentioned, this consolidation, centralizing the information, is not only do you have a repository to easily find information, but also you can easily share it out. You can collaborate. And so when thinking about the academic institutions, the small to large museums, the historical societies that said that they were on this webinar, you may be getting inquiries from professors about particular parts of your collection. They want to bring their students in. You can create, once you have everything organized and digitized, then you can quickly coordinate and work with that professor. So before they even step foot into your museum, you can pull together a private viewing room of, this is not the this example is not what the one I'm speaking to, but say the professor is interested in all of your black and white photographs. You can quickly pull all of your black and white photographs and show it to them. They can review, click in, learn more about the artworks, and then they could say, I would like to show them, my students, these two Ansel Adams, this Georgia O'Keeffe portrait, and then you can pull those for the students. And then the students can also use this private room to learn about the artworks and the artists as well before stepping foot into your galleries or your storage space, your teaching rooms, whatever it may be. Or this can be used as a collaboration tool if you're planning shows, which is what this private room was created for, works to consider for an upcoming show. I could favorite it, or I could send a message as the viewer. And then for the private collectors, they may be shopping around some artworks to their family members to consider, to figure out what each person wants. So they can send works, are you interested in these pieces? These private rooms could be sent from a collector to an institution about discussing donations. And then vice versa, the institution can send a private room back to the collector to say thank you, but we already have a number of prints from that artist. As you can see, what we are looking for actually is, X, Y, and Z to round out our educational experience. So these are a few tools. You can also make your collection public, which is a whole nother topic, a whole nother cherry on top um, part of the benefits of making your collection public is that you can easily bring it online. And so we have clients here at Artwork Archive. I have other webinars and presentations on this about bringing your collection online to boost discoverability, promote access. And so if you're interested in that, you can come to our website, contact me, and I have educational resources on that. You can embed all of this information to your website, again, to the streamlining of workflows. And to close out, because we want to make sure that you have time for questions. A friendly reminder for those entering their digitization process of key information, what is worth saving. So those artwork details, object details, the documents associated with, and then those storytelling records, which I touched upon. So those videos, the audio files, because especially for the collectors, once you have passed your collecting legacy, what inspired you, you're the one to tell that story. And so leaving the breadcrumbs in a digital archive helps. And this is more so for the collectors, but an institution can use this as well, just a helpful step-by-step of thinking about the cataloging process if it's overwhelming. I believe Greg said that there's a presentation when thinking further about digitization coming down the pipeline, but that can be, building up the plan can be a whole presentation in itself. But just thinking of prioritizing the steps. I've had clients that are working from cardboard boxes and they just take one cardboard box at a time or a type of art. They do their books first, their manuscripts, and then they move to the paintings. And then a few resources that you will have handy after this presentation. These are links to articles on Artwork Archive to help you with your digitization flow. And at Artwork Archive, we are here to help. My email is here again. We have e-guides, we have a newsletter you can sign up for, webinar recordings, as I mentioned. And then if you are shopping around for a database, I'm happy to go through a much more personalized experience for you. And so you can sign up for a demo with me and we can get to know each other. And you can learn more about how we work with organizations of all types too on our website. So that was a lot of talking. I'm curious if there's any questions from the audience, Greg, that I can help with.
Absolutely. We've got a couple of great questions. I just want to say thank you, Elysian. I mean, I thought that was a great, it was great to see your platform and how and all of the functionality around it, and then situating that within the broader recommendations around digitizing collections. So that was fabulous. So a couple questions have already come in the chat, and you're welcome to keep adding to our list. We'll try to get to as many as we can today. So the first one is, can this system be customized for a wide range of institutions with multiple kinds of collections, such as railroad, farm heritage, city history, family history, genealogy, etc.?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I peaked at Railroad because my son loves the Colorado Railroad Museum here. I'm based in Denver. So yeah, Artwork Archive, when speaking, I think this question is for Artwork Archive. When speaking with Artwork Archive, artwork is in our name because we were first built for artists. But we have historical collections that use us, a Western museum, and so they're keeping track of saddles and holsters. And so when I clicked into that piece record, there's a lot of flexibility within this system for you to track the information that you need. So whether you're using Artwork Archive or another database, I would look for a flexible platform where you're not pigeonholed into particular fields. So you can keep track of, say, a manufacturer versus like an artist. And you can keep track of the information that pertains to your collection. And so for Artwork Archive, we have a type of art dropdown. You don't have to use it. Within type of art, we also have other, and we have other uh, types and categories. Tags and collections is where you can group based off of the different examples that you gave, farming tools. You could have a collection for all of your farming tools or your particular type of farming tools. Yeah, and then all the information that pertains to it, images, creation date, when was it purchased. Yeah, hopefully that helps.
Thank you. Our next question, can our archive be used by a group of institutions who want their separate collections to be searchable together by the public?
I like a consortium. I'd be curious to learn more. I've had one such type of inquiry. Um, you can create the account to meet your needs, and so if you wanted various collections to be within one account, then you could use the collections to differentiate. Um, that would mean that folks, staff, colleagues from all those institutions would have access to each other's information, or you could create your own accounts, but then link to each other's, embed information onto each other's website, if that makes sense. So yes, and or yes, or, and I'd be happy to talk specifically to your needs, and I'd love to hear about these organizations coming together. That sounds wonderful.
Another question, any university who's using your platform that I can take a look on the patrons end?
Oh, yeah. Which ones to show you? So, we're talking about, you're based in, Philly, Berman Museum of Art. It's not in Philly, but in Pennsylvania. We have so many academic institutions that use us. We actually have a landing page just for academic institutions. Davidson College, the Marjorie Barrick Museum of Art at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, Villanova, small community colleges, large state institutions. So here is the Berman Museum of Art, and they use us to also bring their collection online. This would be a great, you mentioned case studies, Greg. This would just be a great case study in general. Little do folks know that the Berman Museum of Art has the largest archive and body of artworks from Francois Gillot. And so they have digitized her works and her archive. They launched an exhibition last year. And what part of that was bringing it online using Artwork Archive. And so they created collections, which then they could include as part of their website. And so this is segmented, for lack of better words, using Artwork Archive, and it's pulling all of the data that they have from within Artwork Archive. And since they are the largest archive for her work, they get inquiries from all over the world, and so they can direct people, scholars here, and they can easily make information accessible. But there's a lot of examples that I could give, and I would take too much time from academic institutions. So if you are an academic institution, feel free to connect with me and I can show more.
Thank you. Our next question is, what is the thought process around developing tags in order to keep them meaningful and not just ballooning beyond usefulness, I think we could say.
Yeah. Um, I would say that's also to spin it around and see what is important to you. With our clients, if I go back to that slide where I talked about digitization and talking about vocabulary and terminology to make sure that what is being entered stays relevant to the collection. A number of our clients kind of set out a game plan, a strategy, and then they identify the terms that they want to keep track of, and then they have it saved as a PDF, which they can then upload into Artwork Archive, so that for years to come, whether it's future registrars, collection managers, students, they can follow those guidelines. If it's the example that I gave, I'm showing Davidson College, where Davidson gives the students the autonomy and the independence to assign keywords. For them, it's important to hear from the students, and so they let the student interns assign tags the way that they identify with the work, so that then they can create a collection like athletic aesthetics, because the students found a bunch of pieces that include athletics. Um, if things get unwieldy, the good news is with tags, you can actually edit your tags. So if I scroll down, you will see that you can view and edit your tags. You can also assign tags to contacts, which is helpful. As an aside, I've seen museums, public art programs, academic institutions assign demographic IDs, demographic DEAI information as tags to their artists to track female artists, BIPOC artists, local artists, international artists from Ghana, whatever it may be. So these tags can be really helpful if you get an inquiry about, what is the representation of the artists in your collection? Or again, to use Davidson as an example, they know that the demographics of their collection doesn't necessarily reflect the demographics of their student body, and they're working to improve upon that. So the students go in and identify the gaps and work. There's like a small acquisition fund, and they work on acquiring artworks that better reflect the student body. But as you can see, you can always go in and edit the tags. And if it's a bigger project, then you can always contact our engineering team, and we'll work with you if you want to audit them over time. That was a long answer to that very simple question, but hopefully it kind of hit upon some things.
That was a great answer. Thank you. So our next question, my institution is currently using two databases, one old school CMS and one general cloud drive. There's a lot of overlap. Whoops, sorry, I just scrolled past the rest of the question. There's a lot of overlap, but also unique records on sorry, I'm just having trouble scrolling down for some reason. I get rows. One second, technical difficulties.
Oh, no worries.
Um, All right, there's a lot of overlap, but also unique records on each. Any advice for institutions like mine that are trying to balance more specific historical details and using a database that all staff members can use quickly?
Mm. So, so from my gathering, you perceive your older perhaps archive and database as being like the more historical repository, and then the cloud-based one to be the nimble one for staff. Well, my recommendation would be to find a more modern solution where you could combine those two databases. We've seen a number of clients that have, an old Access, and then FileMaker Pro or FileMaker Pro, and then they went and started using Airtable, and it was too much to have two different sources of truth, and that is where duplicates can come in, or errors or gaps in information, because you may assume something is somewhere else, and just waste time trying to go into two different places. So my recommendation would be to the title of this, to centralize and to merge those two databases together. If you can do so on one of your existing platforms, that's great. If not, to find a database that gives you the ability to keep track of all of that good information, but also is nimble and accessible and easy to use so that a non-registrar staff member can access it and get what they need. Maybe that's someone from the education department and they just need to pull up a few pieces that they're going to pull to bring into the fifth grade classroom. So to find a solution that makes it so that everyone can access the information, whether it's the nitty gritty, accession number or acquisition story from 1972, or just the contemporary, like I need an image for this piece to bring into the classroom. And again, I can get into more detail with your particular situation if you have any particular questions, if you want to contact me.
Thank you. Our next question, and I think this last question was kind of anticipating a little bit. If you're using a different system, can it be imported into your system without major issues?
Yeah, yeah. So what's really cool with Artwork Archive is we exist because there's a lot of databases that folks want to move off of. And so we have a free data migration for every one of our organization clients and plans. For the collectors that are interested in this, if you are using an outdated system or system that's not working for your needs, we have a particular plan that does include a data import. It's really easy. Just export your data into a spreadsheet. And then we use that spreadsheet to populate your account. And again, if you're there, if you're interested, if you want to switch over to Artwork Archive, we've had different clients with different needs. So some clients, to the tag question of like cleaning things up, they've had multiple curators, registrars, and there's a lot of duplicates or errors within their database. And so they use that export timeline to go through and to clean it up before they import it into Artwork Archive. We've had other clients that just want to get it into Artwork Archive so they can see it easily. We even have a missing data filter so that you can, see if there's any works that don't have images, and you can go and have an intern or a volunteer go take photographs of those pieces. And you can see if there's any duplicates or if there's anything that's missing information, you can quickly edit it. And so we've had a number of clients that move over from a different platform. It's an easy data migration using a spreadsheet. And images, we move documents. We do it all. Just want to make it easy. We don't want you to be like stuck.
Well, thank you so much. I'll just maybe give one last call for questions. I think that's all that I've seen in the chat so far. We're getting a lot of thank yous. People saying this has been a thought-provoking webinar. So some nice feedback already. You just give it another moment if people are typing a question.
Yeah, I love giving presentations to this with such diverse audiences because, as you shared within my bio, it was museums, public art. A lot of my work actually before Artwork Archive wasn't on the collection side. It was more on educational and programming. And so I've learned a lot from our clients. And so I'm happy to share out those learnings and to give those examples to you all. So we provide free educational content, as I said, too, at Artwork Archive. We have webinars. I have one about environmental monitoring coming up, another one about digitization actually in October. So if you want to connect with me, I'm happy to send along those resources too.
Nice, thank you. And I'm really hopeful that I think pretty soon one of us from CCHA can be on one of
Yes, how
your.
dare I forget? And we were talking about in the new year. Yes,
Yeah,
come
so
see
stay tuned.
this wonderful partnership come alive again. We will be hosting CCAHA on Artwork Archive in the new year, hopefully in February.
Yeah.
Yay.
Stay tuned for that. More to come. I'm just gonna leave it. We'll leave it mysterious. But anyway, so big thanks, Elysian. Thanks for speaking. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks to Camilla Dawson, who's been behind the scenes with all of the tech and setup for today's webinar. Thanks to our amazing ASL captioners. And thank you to all of you for joining us today. If you haven't already, please consider a donation to CCHA. Our next webinar, very apropos, will be titled Handling for Digitization. So we're going to get more into that, the little bit of nitty gritty. So it'd be a good complement to this webinar. And that'll be October 28th at noon. We hope to see you there. And when the program ends, a little survey is going to pop up once the window closes. We'd kindly ask that you fill this out to let us know how we're doing. And thank you everybody for coming. This was really great. I hope you all got as much out of it as I did. I learned quite a lot. So have a lovely afternoon, morning, whatever time it is where you're tuning in from, and we'll hopefully see you soon.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.